Is everybody okay to begin?
Sure.
Yes, thank you.
All right, let's get going. Thank you. Oh, I'm supposed to put this in here, don't I? Okay, good evening, everybody, and welcome. And if it gets too noisy and people can't hear, let me know, and apparently we can close one of the doors.
Yes, she shut that one.
Okay, so welcome. This is the Hyannis Main Street and Waterfront Historic District Commission. It is February 5th, 2025, 6:30 p.m. To all persons deemed interested or affected by the Town of Barnstable's Hyannis Main Street Waterfront Historic District Commission ordinance under Chapter 112, Article 3 of the Code of the Town of Barnstable, you are hereby notified that a hearing is being held at Town Hall, 367 Main Street, Hyannis, Mass. Selectmen's Conference Room, 2nd floor, 6:30 p.m. on Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. This meeting of February 5th, 2025 is being recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel. In accordance with MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20, the Chair must inquire as to whether anyone else is recording this meeting. If so, please make your presence known. No takers? Okie dokie. All right, so if everyone could please silence their cell phones, I will call the meeting to order. Commissioner Wentworth.
Here.
Commissioner Watson.
Here.
Commissioner Matthews.
Here.
Commissioner Crowley.
Here.
Commissioner Hinckley Needham. Commissioner Clark.
Yes.
Commissioner Cronin. Commissioner Kay. Commissioner Doherty.
Here.
And myself, Cheryl Powell, and I'm also here. Can I please invite staff to introduce themselves?
Karen Pina, Admin Assistant, Planning and Development.
Corey Pacheco, Senior Planner, Planning and Development.
Special welcome to our Town Council Liaison, Town Councilor Bloom. Thank you for coming, as always. And also welcome to all the applicants and people who have come here to speak on it. Okay, so, and Allison, a special welcome to one of the town attorneys, Allison Cogliano. I think I saw you on the other committee, didn't I? Yeah, different on when it's not on camera, right? Welcome. So let's go into this. Trainings, I don't think there's any, as always, conflict of interest. If you haven't done the conflict of interest training, or if you're unsure if you're up to date or not, contact Cynthia Level. Nothing on awards tonight. Do we have any special correspondence? I didn't see any. Okay. Sometimes they come in at the last moment. I don't think there's anything to read out the purpose on tonight. First one up is Susan Batista, DBA hyphen 325 South Street, Hyannis, map 308, parcel 162, with regard to signage. Is somebody here for that one?
Hi, ma'am. Hi.
Can I invite you to come up, sign in? Just to also remind people that we have a relatively new system whereby we don't use the microphones anymore, so it's all in the ceiling, and also caution that apparently they can pick up what's being said in the hallway. Meeting has been called to order with roll call. Ooh. Making a mess. Hi.
Hi, I am Denise Rhodes. I am one of the owners of 525 South Street in Hyannis.
You want to tell us a little bit about your project? Sign it.
Our sign, yes. So when we purchased the property, there was a fairly old sign. We repurposed the front, which was a tax office, into a art studio and really some space. So our building houses, we have 4 apartments on the 2nd floor. 3 of the apartments house 2 in each apartment. Young adults with disabilities. So we use the downstairs room for activities for them, for gatherings, just because it's close, none of them drive. Sometimes we can have someone come there, do karaoke, things like that. We do art shows with a group that also does art with young adults with disabilities. So when we came, we named the space hyphen, and we changed the sign to reflect that.
Okay. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the sign?
The sign, yes. So, is it just this sign we're talking about?
I believe so.
Yes.
I didn't see multiple signs on
Yeah,
that.
so this is the only sign we have.
Okay.
So this sign, Susan and her husband Fritz have a design firm. They designed it, they used the color blue, which they had found on the street. And basically, it was the same sign was there, we just repainted it and basically put the words hyphen on it. That's all the change that we
Pretty color blue.
did. So just to reflect sort of the color of the area.
You said you found the color on the street.
That's what Susan picked it from, something that she saw on the street somewhere.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
I think that's it.
So what we usually do is we have you present what it is, and I ask the commissioners if they want any further clarification.
Mhm.
And then we open it up to public comment. We come back for discussion. Anything else you want to say? Also inviting staff if they have anything to say. Okay? Pretty thorough though. I like it. Do any of the commissioners have any questions? Yes.
Just real
Commissioner
quickly,
Matthews.
I'm assuming these signs are already on, correct? The window signs are already on the windows, and this sign is already up and painted and all that, correct?
Mm.
Okay, so, question, the window signs, are they see-through? Okay, so you can see, I see there's little black, dashes and stuff, but I'm assuming that you can still see through those dashes, correct?
You can see through it.
Okay,
I will say that, being there, and I spend a good amount of time there, it's nice that when the lights are on and you're outside, it's not really as clear a view inside, because when the kids are in there, I feel like it's just has just a hint. You can still see it, you can
Mhm.
see really what's in it, but it's almost like just having like a hint of privacy, so
sure,
people aren't
but
coming.
it's not like that poster blocking the
No,
windows,
no,
so you
no,
can't see,
no.
right,
Oh,
okay.
no, you can see the art and when that we do a few art shows, you
Yep.
can look in the window and see the art. You can look in the window and see the kids.
That's great.
Yeah.
The other thing I had for you is, I see on this sign, the one thing I would love if you could do, the 525 is really hard to see because it's painted the same color as the sign. I know it was gold in the other one, but I don't know if you would want to use white. I would just paint the 525 white, so
Right.
it's easier to see. Because if
Sure.
you're driving down the street and you're looking for whatever, you can't tell what the number of that sign is. So that's the only, I like Cheryl, like the color too.
Okay.
But yeah, my suggestion would be to just paint that 525, and I think it says Main underneath it, or whatever it says.
Yes.
Just paint it white so you can read it better.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
that's
it
all
says
I-
525 South.
South, so,
Okay.
yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
That would be my
It's
suggestion.
just a suggestion, because we always try to help out the applicant and see if there's any way we can,
Yeah, no.
It's
We welcome
not a requirement,
suggestions.
but
Yeah,
we
yeah.
can see.
No, yeah, I'm just trying, I think
Well,
you see
to
it
be
better, that's
to
all.
be honest too, since the kids do have people coming to work with them, it also is helpful to have some signage because they park around the back.
Yeah, absolutely.
I
Thank
think that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other commissioners with a question with regard, or need clarification or anything with regard to the presentation? Okay, so I'm gonna open it up for public comment. Is there anyone here who has public comment on this? I'll leave public comment open then until we go to a motion. Somebody remind me to close public comment when we go to a motion. Staff, any report on that?
I have nothing to report aside from what's in the staff report.
Anything that you found, everything seemed to be okay, correct?
Well, it was installed prior to a certificate of appropriateness, so it was given zoning board relief on the size of the
Yeah.
signage, so, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the only comment I have.
Okay, and we should take those into account, because, should come first. Okay, so, how do we feel about it? What, Commissioners,
I think it's
deliberation? It's fine, okay.
fine.
I'm seeing nodding heads.
I like Kev's suggestion,
No, you know what? I do too. When you said that, when you really sit down and dissect something, you're like, oh, yeah, so thank you.
I mean, also for, safety,
Yes,
somebody who's to find the number in an emergency would really help.
yeah.
And they can't see it, so they're looking all around.
Yes.
Exactly.
No,
Because you don't
that's a
have to-
very good point.
Yeah,
But the
It's
color's
very
very
nice.
nice, I like the
Yeah,
color.
no,
I really like that color.
I think it's great.
Pass.
Okay, so in that case, I am going to close, last chance for public comment. I'm gonna close public comment, and would one of the commissioners like to make a motion on the findings?
Sure, I move that the commission find this application to be compatible with preservation and protection of the districts.
With
Second.
525,
Correct,
South Street,
525 South
Hyannis.
Street, Hyannis.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Crowley. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, just to make sure, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, everybody gets to vote. All right. Commissioner Wetland,
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark. Was that an aye?
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews,
Aye.
Commissioner Watson?
Aye.
Commissioner Crowley?
Aye.
I also say aye. Would the commissioner like to make a motion on the certificate of appropriateness, please?
We'll wrap it up. I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the application at 525 South Street in Hyannis, as described in the submitted materials.
A second?
Second.
2 seconds. Okay. Commissioner Crowley?
Aye.
Commissioner Watson?
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty?
Aye.
Commissioner Wentworth? I also say aye. Congratulations. That was relatively simple,
That
wasn't
was
it?
great, thank you very much. Thank you.
We do like
All right,
that color.
nice to meet you. Okay, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Do not pay any Kansas City Chiefs red anywhere in the building.
No,
Just saying.
it's all green, right?
There you
Jets
go,
green,
all green.
Eagles green.
Just
All
for
right,
this
take
game,
care,
all green.
everyone, thank you.
Stay warm. It's cold out there. Alrighty, so next one, Complete Home Group LLC, 183 INO Road, Hyannis, map 328, parcel 201. This is with regard to exterior renovations. Good evening. Good evening, Madam Chair. Hi.
there.
If I could ask you both to sign in, please? Sure. And then state for the record when after you're done, your name.
Yeah. Boy, isn't this a big project, huh?
Yeah.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you all for your time.
Sure.
Being here.
Thanks for
Thank
coming
you for
in.
your efforts. I'll come out. All right. So.
Okay, so, my name's Chad Hill. I work with the Complete Home Group in Centerville. We're a general contracting firm. We do residential, commercial projects. We have taken on this project with the proud new owner of this magnificent historical building, 103 Iano Hill Road, or Iano Road. Trent is here tonight with us to kind of help talk through some of these renovations that we'd like to do, a little bit of the demo that we'd like to do. We have some preliminary plans at this point. We don't have everything defined to date. We're still working on plans. It's a little bit of a step process with this project. We pulled a few permits already with the town. We have an interior demo permit, so we've gone in and we've demoed everything inside, all the bars, all the mezzanines, and then we cleaned up the property, and we have a roofing permit to repair the roof. So we pulled an express permit for that because the roof was in really tough shape. It's been leaking for years since the place shut down, I think, back in 2011. There were 2 roofing systems on the roof, the original asphalt roof and then a rubber roof system which had blown off. And so it had been leaking and it caused some rot in some areas, so we had to get up there and repair a lot of the rotten wood. And so we are currently on site, finishing up the roof part of the project. The interior demo has been completed, so now we're just looking at the exterior of the building and finalizing some of our decisions with what we want to do with regards to windows and doors. And we do want to demo the front canopy system that's there. I think that was built, my guess is that the previous owners built it when they had the bar. And we believe that doesn't really have any historical significance there. So we'd like to remove that. The elevation drawing that you see, you guys all have a copy. We also show, so,
Yes, this is
yeah,
reference to
A30,
page 1.
A301, is what I'm referring to. So we're showing some windows here.
If A301, if you could indicate, because we don't
Yeah,
have anything up on the screen.
A301, proposed exterior elevations. We have, the architect had plugged in some windows. The windows that we are currently looking at are by Quaker, so they are an aluminum storefront style window. It's a single hung window for this particular application with the brick facade. So we're looking to replace, well, actually, you know, the building is, you know, I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have seen the building. It's in disrepair, and, you know, the windows, some windows just don't make sense. They've gone in and they've bricked up some of the openings, and they've put concrete block in some of the openings. So we'd like to open these windows back up. Our goal is to restore this building, okay, to its original state as much as possible. So we want to plug in as many of the windows as we can with that.
Just to, sorry for interrupting.
Yeah.
If we, so that everybody's, you know,
Yeah, I'm
really on the
looking.
same page, so if we go start from the top, first
Mhm.
row would be 1, 2, 3, 4.
Sure.
So that was all on row 1. Now we're moving
Right,
on to row 2.
that's all on row 1. Also on row 1 are these carriage style doors that you see. Now, our intent with these doors are, you know, they're not to be functional. So so what we want to do is close this opening off. We'll frame in this opening, insulate it, and custom build these carriage style doors. You know, to make it look like, if you look at some of the old photos, they were carriage style doors back, you know, in the earlier days. So we try to mimic that as best we can.
What, the wood or
More than likely wood, yeah.
aluminum windows, is that in the new guidelines? Are we allowed to have aluminum windows?
I think it says, I'm trying to think of the exact wording, but it wasn't prohibited, but it was,
On recommendation.
discouraged type thing, the exact wording on there, it was,
It needed to be composite, right?
it's not, in other words, it's at our discretion, but it's not prohibited. And there was no must in, it was not one of the words that had the must on it. We do wanna come back to a couple things though, like
Sure.
materials and that. Kevin, have you found it in there?
I'm looking.
I'm trying, it's where the pictures are of the windows, because that's in the window frame.
You just did this
I-
recently. Yeah, right.
I'm like a 5-year-old, I look at the picture, where's the windows? Okay, that's what's gonna tell me what we're talking about.
Are those fluted columns, are those metal or wood?
In the front,
Yeah.
Yeah.
metal. They're beautiful. We're
Will
gonna,
those
Yeah,
stay?
they're,
yes, sir, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We're gonna paint them, if it's acceptable, just to make them look even nicer.
So in the guidelines, it says wood windows are strongly recommended, composite windows are permissible upon review. So nothing about aluminum windows not being allowed.
That's strongly recommended to wood, but there is another spot in there
Correct.
where it's very similar, so in other words, it's at the discretion. So, I knew it was at the discretion, I couldn't remember the exact wording.
But they're gonna be paying like these pictures.
they will be, yes. Yeah, you know, when you get into the larger window, like you see here in this room, You know, these are aluminum window systems. Typically, that's what's used. So these windows, you know, the framing would be all aluminum with the grills. They'd be black on the exterior,
Okay.
you know, to match the rest of the trim on the building, because our intent is to paint all the trim black. The fluted columns, those are the original steel columns from when the building, you know, when they built the building. I think it was back in 1900.
1901.
Yeah, and so those will be painted black. The garage style doors, just a typical glass metal door system by Clopay, 10 by 10. It's an overhead door, so these doors would lift up.
Is that what you're talking about?
Correct, yeah, similar to, yeah, very similar to that.
Okay. so-
Chad, can I ask, what is this building's function? Like, is it like a construction site, or I mean, I don't know, like, just wondering what it's gonna do?
What's it gonna be used for?
Yeah,
I'll let Trent
gonna
tell
be-
you what he's gonna do with the building.
okay.
Yeah.
He's the owner.
It's it's gonna be a collector car storage facility.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So anybody can put their cars there, like it's a place where you can rent space to put your collector cars?
Yes, sir. Yep.
No kidding,
Yeah.
okay, interesting. Well, those windows would be real nice. You better get some security too on those doors. You're gonna have these collector, classic cars in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll have to also get a good window cleaner because of all the kids
Yeah.
that go by in there.
Lots of lights.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, thank you, I was just wondering, so, okay.
It's interesting. Okay.
Let's see.
Sorry we interrupted you.
No.
Yeah, sorry about that, I was just wondering.
Sorry.
No, let's, okay, so then, in addition to restoring the building, we are proposing to add a bump out addition. And that is on, so that would be your.
Row two.
Row two. You can see that, it's sort of like our entryway to the facility.
Like a lobby.
It's on the southwest elevation. You know, you'd enter in, you'd have a waiting room for the clients, along with an office.
So that's the bump out that's facing the street?
Right.
basically. Yeah, okay,
Sort of like when you go into a car dealership.
yeah,
You know, it's very similar.
got it.
And the bump out addition, I saw the 28.6 feet on the width. It doesn't seem to indicate how much it's gonna bump out.
I think that's over, it's on one of these.
16.
Yeah, it's on row number 4, 16 feet.
16 feet? Okay, wow, it doesn't look like a 16 footer from there, so,
Yeah.
okay.
Shows 16 feet, 16 foot 1. Let's see what else. Oh yeah, of course, all the brick is to remain. We're gonna repoint all the brick.
On the bump out, that's all gonna be brick also, to match everything.
No, the bump out is gonna be,
It looks like
Open wood.
clapperboard.
yeah, it's gonna be some kind of, probably like a hardy type siding material. It'll be dark in color. I think the architect had quoted me something, but the color I think is ash.
Did you include a color chart here or no?
No, we didn't. We don't have that in the drawings yet.
If I could ask Chad and Trent, because obviously we have the proposal here, I'm confused about this, no, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Michicha?
Magenta?
The brochure,
Oh, okay.
Oh,
which,
did I?
all these, they look like very contemporary houses, and I just didn't know where that fit
Oh, I
in.
think that, is that the siding material that he spec'd?
I don't know, that's,
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
Vintage wood
That's
panels.
it.
Oh, okay.
and a chicha.
I'm like,
Okay, yeah.
I didn't know if you were trying to build one of these there too.
So this looks like it's a brown, this looks like it's a brown wood.
Mm.
Yeah, that's a brown, is that the color that?
looks more like a clapperboard, which would be consistent with that
That's,
type of look.
yeah, that looks like the siding there, correct.
Okay,
It's just the, you know, the color, we're trying to, you know, maintain like an industrial look, with darker colors, you know, with the black and the brick and the, you know, so something along those lines, you know, maybe, you know, it very well could be this that you have here that you pulled up. I know we spec'd ash, but I don't know if that's ash.
that's not ash.
Yeah.
If it were ash, then when this light went on it, it would come up this
Yeah.
type of color here. That would be more like an ash. That's definitely a brown. Okay, so. Anything further?
As far as the exterior is concerned, there's gonna be a gutter along the whole backside of the building. There was an existing gutter there.
That's the window side?
That's the window side, yeah, right. So we're thinking we're just gonna, because the trim's gonna be painted black, we'll, propose to do a black gutter.
Where will that be on these?
That's gonna be on row 3.
Row three?
On the curved side of the back.
On the
of the
curved
building.
back side, right.
How far from the top?
It is right almost at the top on the right side, and maybe a quarter of the way down on the left side. Let's see. It's kind of-
Is this here your
This
gutter?
is the gutter along here.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the way we're looking
And then-
at it, it's not the bit, 15th of the way down, it's the bit right at the top.
Yeah, this is kind of the roof, the
Yeah.
skewed roof line here, because,
Let me- We're talking about, whoops, where this.
right, that's
This
it.
here.
That's the gutter line, right.
I think it has like two dark lines,
Yeah.
one on top, one on bottom. So that's the gutter. And you said that's gonna be what color?
That'll be black.
And those are with downspouts.
Correct.
Looks like there's a down here.
Are you-
Also black?
Correct.
Are you putting gutters on the front as well?
No,
The only
it's a,
reason I-
it's a single sloped roof. So.
But it looks like, and correct me if I'm wrong, it slopes away from where you're gonna put the gutters.
Other way.
It slopes, moving
You're-
up.
Okay, one more
So-
time, I'm sorry. The gutters are going at the curved window, excuse me, those garage doors or the other side?
Other side.
Okay, that's what I was confused.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
well, that's a curve as well. So the.
Yeah, it's
if
the
you-
other
if
way.
you-
I'm looking at the.
I refer to the garage doors as the front of the building.
Right.
And then the back of the building.
Gotcha.
which is
Okay, that's what I was confused. I'm like,
Where the windows are.
the gutters are not gonna catch anything. I get it now.
I'm confused where the bump out is. If I look on this page, where, this is the bill,
Yeah, it's not on that site plan.
it's not on that site plan. Where would it be on this site plan?
On the right-hand side, Tom.
Do you have,
It's,
Oh, that thing here?
you have the second page of the site plan?
You have to tell us the page number, is it sheet 2?
see if it's,
Sheet 2.
Which one is it?
Sheet 2.
This one too?
No, that's the first one.
This is sheet 2.
Yes,
right.
yes. Oh, you have two then, right.
the bump out's gonna be right here against Transportation Road.
Oh,
You
okay,
said this was it.
okay,
Is there another one?
I got it.
This is that road that bisects it, that goes into the transportation center.
On the west side,
Okay.
from the top.
Okay, but
Yeah,
tell us a little bit, you can go on that one, can you not? Because it looks the same.
Yeah, this, so the bump out is on the left side of the building, if you're looking at the plan view.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's in
So,
this area over here.
It's that dotted line there into the curve, that square.
Yeah. Out.
This one,
Back here.
go back here, this one, okay.
you want to take this, because I've drawn it in.
Oh, great. Thank you.
And that's going to be, or, what was the thing on that? It's 28.6
Oh,
wide
okay.
This little.
and
I didn't- okay,
16.1
that wasn't
coming
it.
out
I
of
didn't
the.
see that.
Right here.
Yeah, I don't think I have
28
that.
by 16,
Yeah.
it's roughly 500 square feet.
I see, I
When you
see.
pull in
Oh,
here,
it's
you
tiny.
can,
only
it's not
16.
very big, the building is so big that it looks like a real,
Oh,
yeah, so you pull in here straight, kinda makes sense, and then you go here.
Okay,
I got you, okay.
thank you.
I got, yeah, thank you.
How many square feet is the building?
Thank you.
12,000,
Really? Wow. It's a huge place.
it's a big place.
Yeah, it is.
You're gonna have a lot of nice cars for us to look at.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Yeah,
I think it's interesting, we used to have a 12,000 square foot train station.
Yeah.
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 Isn't
Isn't
that
that
interesting?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really an impressive structure.
I wish the turnstile was still there, you could still see where it
Oh, I
was.
know, yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
So may I ask,
Sure.
Yeah.
what would you like to have happen tonight?
Great question.
I think that's obvious.
That's
They're
cool.
looking for
It's, you
approval
know,
tonight. So-
There are a lot of components to this project, a number of components, and we're, you know, like I mentioned earlier, it's a step process for us with this building. So we're kind of working and navigating our way through this project. We currently are working with our site engineer, our architect, and our structural engineer. So my goal is to be able to put these plans together in the near future and submit for a construction permit. So when I do that, I'd like to have approval from the historical committee, you guys, that yes, we can include this bump out, number one. Yes, we can demolish this canopy in the front. And yes to the windows, basically being put back into the building. Let's see, yes to the garage doors. Let's see. It's pretty obvious that we're gonna repoint the brick. That's not going anywhere.
I've got that down.
The roof is the roof. There's nothing going on the roof. At first, we thought we were gonna put the heat pumps on the roof, but we're not gonna do that. We wanna put them kind of around the building, tucked along the side somewhere. Just wouldn't look right as you're coming in, because it would just
They're like 7
be an
feet
eyesore.
tall. Yeah.
My opinion. So we're gonna leave the roof just completely flat, it's a complete new rubber roof system. Yes to the coloring, that we're, you know, the black trim, the black gutters, the black windows, the black doors. We need to figure out what we're doing for a color on the bump out.
Black would be great.
Maybe it's black,
And the brick,
brick stays.
What color? Okay, same color brick.
the existing canopy, do you know what its historic purpose was?
I don't, and
I
the
don't-
pictures that I looked back on, it wasn't there in the days when the trains were
Right.
coming in.
Okay,
Yeah, so it was definitely added, I would say, in.
I think the club built it
70s.
okay.
Yeah.
when it was the Puffer Bellies Club.
Okay.
And the canopy, I'm sorry, is in the back of the building or the front of the building? Like the
Front.
smaller curve or the bigger curve?
Small curve.
Okay, that's the one I thought you meant, okay. Yeah, that was built for the bar, I believe.
Right.
They could have a little outdoor area.
I think it's great, I love the word restore. And I think everything you're doing is fine, the only thing I would like to see is the color you're gonna do the bump out. You know?
I have a few other things I wanna bring out as well, but I've
Yeah,
got color down here
besides
as
that, I
well.
think knocking down that canopy, putting in the garage doors, putting in the windows in black. I would like to see the gutter trim, you know, a sample of that.
Okay.
But, I love the whole idea.
Thank you.
I'm 100% behind Tom, I agree.
Thank you.
Just a
And
few little,
great.
Just a few little
downspouts,
things.
minor little tweaks.
With that.
That's
The
it.
downspouts, right.
picture or something, yeah, how those.
And again, all that gutter downspouts, everything's gonna be black, right?
Yeah.
So it's all gonna match.
So
Windows,
before we jump into the deliberation, let's open up to
Oh,
public
sorry.
comment as well. But we are gonna come back to that, you made some very valid points. Is there anyone here for public comment on that, on this? Oh, yes. Town Councilor Bloom.
Yeah, I think this is really cool. And to keep it in the transportation area is even better. And the fact that it's a really cool place in my precinct, it makes it really a pretty nice project. I wish you guys best of luck.
Oh, thank you very much.
I know it's probably not gonna happen overnight because you're doing it step by step, but I'm looking forward to when it finally does, when it's finally finished, and I think it's a really nice, classy, if I can use the word, addition to the precinct, and I think it's fantastic.
Now you're gonna buy a classic car show, so you can throw it in there.
In different stages, I know you're still working on lighting also, right?
Right.
What about landscaping? Is that gonna, part of the whole process too, where you're gonna shrub it and grass it?
Right.
Let's finish off with public comment. Is there anyone else who has public comment? Nope. Okay, so I'm gonna leave public comment open. Now we're in deliberations. So there's things that I've noticed as well, and they've already been mentioned by some of the commissioners. One is clarification, please, Karen, because it says renovations, but it doesn't really specify the demolition, which I don't have a problem with. We don't have to amend that, do we?
No.
Okay, so, lighting was my number 2 on the list, if we could clarify some of the lighting, please. Also to clarify the dumpster and where that's going to be, so it's not just right out front and ruins all the great work that you're doing. Also the doors, you said they might be wood, but they're wooden. I would want some sort of clarification on that. Also, Commissioner Doherty, you had mentioned the color. I also have down the color to be questioned. You had mentioned, for instance, that the bump out would be ash, but down here it looks like it's brown, so I want some sort of clarification on that, just so we're good on that.
Love to see it.
Yeah, would love to see it. And also because you said you wanted the industrial look, I agree with Councilor Bloom, where it is in the transportation area, it's appropriate, but just so it doesn't, it's not anything that, pops out inappropriately. You said it is a step process. Kind of question what the extra steps are, because quite often what we'll do is we'll prove certain things, and then things that are unsure, we either ask that you come back, as Commissioner Wentworth had said she'd like to see some of the colors, but at the same time, because quite often we'll get samples or something like that. And I'm not saying you have to do that, but just so that we've kind of check out those colors a little more. And the other thing that we sometimes do is we say, we really like the project, we think it's good, and we just say if we're all happy with it. And remember, I point out, I say that these options, because even though I'm chairman, I am only one voice and one vote. I no more than anyone else here. So, quite often what we'll do is we'll say, as long as planning has checked it and it's within our purview and that sort of thing. But I'd like to know what some of those extras were. The bump out, as I said, the color on that. We already got with the demolition thing, and for the canopy, we don't need a separate thing for that. Okay. Garage doors, you addressed that, even though I already had down the roof with that. I think that's all that I had. And as I said, some of those things like lighting and colors are mentioned by the other commissioners. Did I leave anything out, or is it Commissioner Wentworth? It looks like you have something.
Just like to point out to you that we had some pretty significant updates to our unified design regulations. If you're not familiar with that, it might be helpful to you, just for not having to come, if you're looking at something that was 6 months ago, because it was so new, might be helpful.
Sure.
The planning department, Jim, Karen, and Corey are really good at, before it comes to us, making sure everything's up to speed with what the guidelines are. They've been a huge part of the actual
Just hate to
guidelines.
see where you said it was a step process going on, I'd hate to see you
I
do the
see what
work
you're
and
saying,
then
in the
have to
future,
go
yeah.
back and change it.
Right.
Well, after today, and if they show the color and the gutters, The only other thing, unless you make major changes to the building, the only thing you have to come back to us with is lighting and landscaping.
Right.
That would be the
And
only-
We asked for
and
some
colors.
downspouts,
Love
we asked for some
And colors.
indication of what the downspouts and things like that will look like, yeah.
Yep, sorry, location and downspout?
Yes. And the tech, the
Material.
material.
Will there be signage?
Good question, I didn't have that.
Yeah, there will be, you're right.
Yeah.
We haven't,
Ideally, yeah, we haven't, I just have a picture.
explored signage yet.
Yeah,
Why don't you tell them the name of the,
it's gonna be called the engine room. Kind of pays homage to what it was before and
Nice.
works with the
That's
cars
nice.
going in
Very
there.
good.
Thank you. I saw this the other day. I would love to have it painted on the side. I don't know if that's
Oh, wow,
acceptable,
that's fast, now it's
but
Are you able to?
I thought it looked really
Bring
nice.
it around so
Yeah,
everybody can see it?
yeah, of course. And then that would be lit with some like gooseneck, something else like that.
That's great, yeah.
Yeah, that looks good.
Classy.
Fred, what you would do is, when you come back to this, you would just make sure that that's amended to the application, so that way that can be approved as well. But I think that looks cool.
Yeah, that's a separate application, but I can send
Right.
it to you.
yeah, you mentioned that to me, yeah.
Trent, you're way too young to be this creative. What the heck's going on here?
What the hell? My,
Yeah, that's cool.
my wife.
You have to be ambitious to take on a project like this.
My wife has a certificate in historic preservation.
Does she? Oh, that's great.
NYU, yeah. She wished she
I
could,
like
she could
that.
be here.
So
but-
she's the better half, okay.
I like the full stop at the end.
With the-
That's classy, I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so, Town Councilor Bloom, did you get a chance to see that?
To see what?
Did you see the picture?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
Yeah.
so, alrighty, so, how do we wanna deal with this? I have a suggestion that we, and Corey, there's nothing inappropriate against the purview or anything like that, correct? And is there anything else you wanted to say?
There's a lot of gaps in information
Right, yeah.
that
There
need
is.
to be provided before there's a certificate issued, so.
Do you have anything that I haven't already mentioned, that I've spotted?
Nope, lighting and landscaping and signage. I know you mentioned native plants in their
Plants, yeah.
site plan, but I guess we're gonna need a plant list.
So
That
is-
adheres to the plant list that's part of the design guidelines.
So my suggestion would be is since there's quite a few things on there, and I think we've come out with a list, I would probably be inclined to continue it to the next one for the approval, just to have those things answered. I don't foresee there being any problems. It's just, if it were one thing, we'd probably just say, bring it back to us or give it to planning. But since there's quite a few, so that we can see how they all jive together, is that all right? And as for the interior, you'd mentioned a few times on what the interior and the demolition and all that. We don't have purview over the inside.
Right.
So, although it's nice to know.
Yeah.
So,
A meeting on the 19th and.
so we'll just give him the list. Have you been writing these things down, Chad, or?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
He is, and I'm, yes, all three of us are, so.
So there's 6 main things I think that you need to come back with. And then, again, I think we all love the project idea. It looks great. I'm so happy too that you're redoing the mortar and the brick and you're making it look fantastic and saving it. It's a great building, very historic building, and I'm so happy you're not coming and saying, I want to knock this down. This is great. So it's just these little things that once we clean up and once we get some ideas, I think you'll be doing just fine.
I've got
Sure,
7
okay.
things, I'll send those to Corey and we can coordinate with them, okay?
I just
Okay.
had one question about the timing, because the next meeting is the 19th. So if you wanted to come back with a sign application at that time, I'd have to run you into the next meeting, which is March 5th. So, otherwise
we
you'll
able
have to
to-
come back
Are we
again.
able to attach them? The signage to this one?
Right, but it's just the timing in your butter.
Oh, I got you,
notices.
yeah, you're right,
Yeah.
okay,
So,
sorry.
I would
Yeah, absolutely,
suggest
thank
March
you. You're
5th.
you're right.
Unless
Yeah, I
if
think
they
March
don't,
5th is gonna be
Are you okay with that?
because the 19th, I'm actually away, it's kids' school break week.
Sounds like March 5th.
Yep.
I'm not gonna be here, but
You okay with that?
I won't be able to be here the
No.
5th, but
Okay.
we'll make sure it's all.
Yeah, it gives us enough time
You
to
okay with
get all
that?
this
Yeah.
together, yeah.
be here in
And I'll email the sign application to you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay, so, you're all right with that?
Yeah, but, could I get approval to demo the canopy today?
We can bifurcate it out, how do people feel about that?
I was gonna say, I don't know, I'm fine, but can you do that because it's all together on one application?
Well, you can bifurcate it out, but actually, when you ask that, my mind goes to, you know, what happens if we don't like anything with the other and then it's already been demolished?
Again, I don't mind, if you wanna bifurcate it out, I'm fine, like, knock that thing down, but I don't know if it's because it's all part of a package, if that can be done.
Let's keep it in one package, I think. Is everybody okay with that? Or how do you feel? Like I said, I'm one
Does that set you
voice.
back?
Does that set you back? Doesn't set you back?
Yeah.
Fine.
Then a package.
Let's do it all.
It doesn't set you back. So in that case, I'm going to make a motion that we continue this to March 5th. And during the interim, we will have, you will coordinate with getting the information to, Mr. Pacheco and,
Sure thing.
okay?
I second
I
that.
like,
Okay.
it's seconded?
Yeah.
Okay, so, Commissioner Crowley,
Aye.
Commissioner Watson, Commissioner Matthews,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark. You okay with it? Okay, Commissioner Doherty,
Aye.
Commissioner Wentworth?
Aye.
I also say aye, it is continued.
Okay.
I don't think that's a big issue, it's just we like to dot our i's, cross our t's.
Oh, yeah,
And
absolutely.
make sure that, you know, due diligence and all that kind of stuff.
Understandable, yeah.
Okay,
No
That'll
problem.
be good, you'll have
Gives
to
us-
get it on.
It was like ash.
Yeah, we need
This
to
is
look into,
ash.
yeah, we need to
Somebody
look
else
into
can
that,
say
right.
Something else is ash.
yeah, we need
This,
to know if
you
it's ash or brown, there's a big difference
Yeah,
there.
we need
Oh,
to,
yeah.
we need to, real.
Congratulations on your project, guys, I think it's great.
It's terrific, thank you.
It's fantastic.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm excited
Thank
to
you
see
for
what they do.
restoring and not
Time.
destroying.
How are you reaching
Yeah.
out to collectors?
We've been working closely with some inns, like on the Nantucket and Martha's Vineyard, and on the Cape, to try to do some like grassroots marketing. And I wanna go to there's a big car show, Father's Day car show.
I was
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
say, Father's Day is
Oh,
a
yeah.
great
Have
one.
Have you never been to that?
No, I've heard it's incredible, yeah.
It's great, it's a great event.
Oh,
Yeah.
actually, where's it gonna be this year? Because now that they're doing that whole area over, where's it gonna
I've
be?
never heard of any changes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Nice
Is,
meeting you.
is the word
So-
out? I mean,
I
if
wrote
I
this
have a
down,
friend
but
who's a
you're gonna
collector,
send
I
me
can
an email?
mention it.
I'm gonna send you.
You'll send me an email.
Yeah, I'll send you one tomorrow.
Perry, we're
Sign
on live
application.
TV, the word is out to everyone right now.
Okay. All right.
Excellent,
I think I have you in my email.
you do.
I do.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Tell your wife she's done a great job with you.
That was- Is this whole thing recorded?
Absolutely.
Proof.
If you have any questions about what we said, you just go onto the town site and you can hear us say it all again.
Oh,
Okay,
that's a good
great,
point.
awesome. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Fred.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good evening.
Thanks, Chad.
You want to send them one.
Oh, thank you, yes. Okay.
Oh, that's exciting.
So,
That'll be a nice.
Yeah, it really will.
town, yeah.
That's exciting.
So, as you know, we've all been redoing the design guidelines. Chad, is it Chad?
Oh.
I wanna remind him that it can be
Yeah,
heard.
I'll swap them away.
Just to remind you that everything you say can be heard out here on the camera.
It's all good.
It's okay, just, you have to get beyond it. All right, so we've been doing the design guidelines for some time, and we've also come across a few things that we wanted to clarify. We have the distinct pleasure of having one of our town attorneys, Allison Cogliano, okay, am I pronouncing that correctly? Can I invite you up to join us, please? And I want to thank you very much for taking the time to go over this, because this is a very important issue.
Absolutely.
You're the one who prepared the letter as well, aren't you?
The memo,
The memo?
yeah, exactly.
I dissected it, which is a good thing. But, and I also am going through it to have suggested as our missing page for the design guidelines. Oh, that's 3 pages long, I've only got 1 page in here. So this is to go over First Amendment, content-based, and content neutral. And any other questions, I take it?
Correct, yes.
I want Coco also to ask a question, I'll do it later, but with regard to some of the things that were in the letter with regard to, private property, I wanted to know if it all applied to public property as well.
So I can clarify,
Okay.
so if I may.
The floor is yours.
So I haven't really had the pleasure to meet most of the people in this room, so I'm Allison Cogliano. I am one of the assistant town attorneys. I started last April, so almost coming up on a year. But so I wrote this memorandum just based on recent projects that were reviewed, basically, and kind of a gap in knowledge that I'm happy to fill. The art projects that you all are reviewing, or murals or things of that nature, they do come with, these artists have First Amendment rights, right? So those art projects, that's free speech, or an example of free speech. So we have constitutional concerns that we have to make sure that we're all abiding by.
Can I interrupt you real quick?
Sure.
Something I should have said at the beginning is, in anyone asking questions, anything, I just thought of it again, I'm kicking myself for not saying to begin with. In our discussions and questions, we should not be discussing particular specific applicants. This is a learning on the overall, not pertaining to specific, things, because they're not here to have their own say. That appropriate?
Correct, yes. And so obviously I did touch upon specific events in the memo, and I think everyone's read it, or maybe, hopefully. So anyways, so I don't want to rehash the entire memo because you all have it. So just a general overview. So, and I'm going back to law school with all of this that I wrote, and I'm explaining to you my constitutional law classes. But when the government takes action, makes a decision to reject, approve a certificate of appropriateness, for example, those decisions, if they are going to impede on someone's constitutional right, specifically the First Amendment, freedom of speech, there is a review process by a court. So if someone were to appeal the decision, that would go to a federal court because it's a constitutional question. And what I've explained to you in the memo is the different levels of what's called scrutiny, or standard of review that a court would review the decision in. And so what we're talking about here is free speech. So that's what's called a fundamental right. And so that would get what's called strict scrutiny. And I know these are a lot of words that you probably will never need to use it ever again. But to try to put it simply, when we're reviewing art, which is free speech, you want to keep whatever decision you're making content neutral. And that's a lot of what I wrote in the memo. So
I thought you were very clear and precise in there.
I hope so. I appreciate that. Because it is confusing, and like I said, there's just a lot of language that we don't use every day. So I just want to be clear and precise. So again, the distinction between content neutral, content based. So content neutral is going to be time, place, manner. When a mural can go up, when a piece of artwork can go up, where it can go up, and how it goes up. So I sort of made notes of some silly examples for myself.
Time, place, what?
Time, place, and manner.
Manner.
Those are, yes, that's what's considered content neutral.
Can you explain what manner is?
Yeah, so I can give you some examples.
Time,
So,
place, I get, but.
yeah, so time, if you're, and I think this has come up a little bit, if someone's trying to put up a mural and there's also construction going on next door, that's a reasonable thing to say, hey, maybe we put it up a couple months after the construction's finished, or we get it up before a few months. That's the timing, things of that. And I don't know that timing on art is going to be it's not always going to come up, but that's just an example that
If I may,
came up with.
say the town, of course, Main Street is about to go two-way. So if you said something like, you know what, there's gonna be a lot of hustle and bustle on Main Street right now, let's postpone your proposal until all that's done, and then we take it from there.
Exactly, so
Okay.
that's an example,
All
and
right.
I'll get into, yeah, it's a good example, and I'll get into whether, you know, why that may or may not be considered reasonable. Like, if a court were to look at that and say, is that a compelling government interest? That's that strict scrutiny standard of review I'm talking about. I think it would, and again, these time, place, and manner restrictions are oftentimes found by a court to be legitimate government interest. It's the content-based that gets a little bit more difficult to defend and show that on our part. So place, you may want to put a mural up on a wall that's facing a park as opposed to a wall that's in front of a red light. Because we're thinking, okay, people are going to stop and look at this mural and then they're going to get distracted. I mean, again, it sounds silly, but these are things that involve safety, so that's the type of things that you can take into consideration. And then manner, I struggled trying to figure out an example, but I was thinking like maybe if an artist wanted to put up a projection of like a video, that might not, you know,
Distraction.
a distraction, and then that might not be something, that might get a little tricky, but at the very least, a distraction versus a mural or a painting. That was really the only example I could actually think of in terms of this setting. So again, that's content neutral. That's what we want to stick with, and that's sort of the advice on legal's part. And we also want to make sure any restrictions we're placing, even when they're content neutral, you're applying them across the board. So there's no, it's not arbitrarily being applied. One person applies to put a mural at a light, you say, no, that's too distracting, and then another person comes and tries to put a mural there, and you allow it.
Right.
So obviously, you don't want to discriminate in that way, or even if you're not doing it purposefully, you want to make sure that you're applying those same standards across the board, which is where the guidelines will come in.
So perhaps we ought to say not just mural or painting, because we're talking about all types of art. So therefore, we're just to specify, we're talking, why don't we use a statue as an example, or a fountain as an example. All of this is art-based, so that we are not going on just a specific type. We're talking about all art forms.
Allison, here's my question, and that I don't understand. Obviously, our job, or our instructed job and what we do is we protect or try to protect the historic character of the Main Street, Hyannis district. So, and again, I like public art, I have no problem with that. But knowing that that is what we're supposed to do and charged with doing, I don't get the content neutral part of this, because say if someone came in and said, and please, everyone watching, don't do this. Say if they said, I want to put up a painting of Porky Pig in a astronaut suit. I'm supposed to look at that and not worry about what that painting is, just worry about time, place, and manner, when I know, gee, that really doesn't fit the historical character of Hyannis. How do you get it? How do you make that work?
Yeah, I think that there's, and I don't know if anybody's tried to do their own independent research, but there are a lot of articles that sort of talk about how historic preservation really, like, those two efforts sort of butt heads, where yes, there is the purpose of this committee is to preserve that historical aspect of the historic district. I mean, you're statutorily given the authority to do so. However, and the reasoning is with the courts, and there's plenty of case law on it that would probably take me forever to read, but the idea is that art is subjective. And so if somebody thinks that Porky Pig, whatever, is what they want to paint, a mural, I don't want to say unfortunately, that to them is that's free speech. That's the art is their expression, and that's something that they can do. Now,
Would that not come under location though? So let's get away from, let's say, not Porky Pig. Let's say somebody wanted to put up an artistic statue of a demon or something in front of one of the churches in the historic area, which would be quite offensive to some people. It's not really within keeping with one, the location, and two, the character of it would be. So I would have thought, maybe not the right place, because we're not trying to be scandalous, but we also are preserving the character. I know at one stage it was suggested that we get rid of the whole historical character, but that's part, as you say, our statute. That's what we're supposed to be doing. That is in our written purview.
Well, with all due respect though, Cheryl, somebody could say, a lot of people I'm sure in this community would think a demon anywhere on Main Street would be a problem.
I am.
So that's my concern, is I don't know how to balance the two, balance the historic character and balance the right of the artist to be able to put what they want up. It's very tricky. I just wish there was more law that made it more understandable of what road we need to navigate.
What happens in a historic district if, art's subjective, this art here, this is Peter Max from the sixties, some people like it, some people won't. But in a historic town, if I was just a resident and I'm walking around town and I see a mural, I find it offensive. I call the town. What would the town do?
Well, what people find offensive is also sort of subjective as well.
Exactly.
But
Exactly.
there are exceptions. The courts don't consider obscenity, pornography, inciting violence, so fighting words, or verbal torts. So if someone says, I'm gonna do a mural about my ex-boyfriend and how, whatever, and they decide to put that up on a mural, you can say, okay, I don't know about allowing a slanderous mural in town. I mean, those are kind of considerations you can take into. The definition of obscenity is also not as helpful as you'd think either. Like I said, I did a lot of research on the various articles, and there is case law that allows, that says that obviously certain pornographic images and things like that would be outside the purview. And I'm trying to find it.
Also words, my research has revealed that it's not.
I'm not talking about pornography.
Right, no, but
I'm
it's
talking about I just find it offensive.
Let
Sure.
me finish what I was saying though, but what I have found in the research is that pornography is not just visual, it is also written word, and it can be obviously implied. And if you go online, it will give you the list of legal words is probably about 15 to 20 of them, of words that are regarded as pornography, just the words.
Are there different rules for, if you put a mural up on, say, a public wall,
Well, that's gonna get into the public versus private that we're talking about.
Yeah, and I think it's
Before we move on, I have a question.
I see it, I'm kind of finding a way to get interjected.
So let me just wrap up the content neutral versus content based situation. So the content based piece is the speech, right? The message. And again, I went into detail in the memo, and I think it's a lot more clear. It may not be, and of course, please ask me questions if it's not. But the content based is you're making suggestions, or you're rejecting based on the message that the artist is trying to perceive or portray. And I did make a note that sometimes even color is part of that message. And so sometimes you just have to really look at what you're reviewing. If it's just a random color, it doesn't matter one way or the other for the artist, fine. If it's something that, blue means serenity and, it's part of their message, that's a different story. So that one's kind of gonna go back and forth.
That's where my confusion is, because we have guidelines that say, here are the colors you can use, you know what I mean? And I'm saying this as being fine with those colors, it doesn't bother me, but I'm just saying, I'm confused, because I'm getting this, and you're telling me what the law is, and I'm trying to find a way of what I can and can't do protecting the artist in their First Amendment rights. I don't wanna knock anyone's First Amendment rights, but also I'm charged to look at the historical preservation of the area. So, you have us, it's a catch-22 here, I don't know what to, I don't know what to do.
Catch-22. I'm gonna let Commissioner Wentworth, she's been so good,
Yeah.
that must be the 10th time you put your hand up.
Thank you, thank you. So I agree with Kevin 100%. My problem is, we are charged with the historical, that's in our title.
Yeah.
And so I think the problem stems, part of the problem of definition and understanding is, what is our legal position on the word historical?
Well, then putting a spanner in the works, I suppose, love debates. If we're talking about the legal, and we're talking about, as you say here, it's time, place, and manner.
But historical,
So, but in the historic district is considered a place.
no. I'm
No.
talking about historical, in historical, you could have a historical
Area,
place,
historical area.
but what is historical, by your definition, not your definition, this definition, for our purposes? Because it's very different than an area that's outside of downtown historical Main Street Hyannis. It's very different. So, planning board deals with that all the time, but what is it?
It's
I think-
defined, it's defined in the new guidelines, the part that's already been accepted. Remember, actually, I'm the only one, no, here we go.
It's not.
No, yeah,
No, wait a minute, it was, because remember, because the Barnstable Historical, which is another commission, has 75 years and older. So I believe we matched that in the new guidelines. So historical is anything, I think it was 75 years and older.
Are you talking about building, or are you talking about the type
What
of
is
art
historic?
historic?
Well, that's with regard to buildings, but we just.
So you're talking about a date. I'm talking about,
The art.
Yeah, we're talking about the art, I mean, it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with.
yeah,
Not
I'm talking
the
about
building.
guidelines
Yeah,
for
okay,
historical.
okay, you can look at it two
So-
different ways.
Yeah.
I think if we,
I'm sorry, just as a fellow attorney,
Oh.
who's done some First
I'm
Amendment
sorry, I should
litigation.
point
so you
that
will
out.
maybe have to use
Yeah.
the term strict scrutiny in the
Yes,
future.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
I think it's important to keep in mind that this is, in addition to being an historical society, a very important commercial hub. And the vast majority of people who make their way around Main Street every day see it as where they do go to work, families are, things like that. And they appreciate that we're historic, but they probably see it in a little different lens than we do. You can accomplish a lot of your goals by sticking to content-neutral things about type of material, size, massing, location, things that universally apply to everybody. And I think as a practical matter, I don't see any business owner who wants to keep their business putting up a statue of Beelzebub. I don't see that happening, so it's not to say we're not gonna have difficulties, but I think a lot of this can be accomplished sticking to those content-neutral guidelines. And I'm guessing there are other historic districts who've grappled with this, and they've probably put together some guidelines. I think of Salem, Massachusetts, things like that. So I'm wondering if there's anyone we could reach out to say, hey guys, what are your rules of the road on this? So that might be helpful.
I actually had a town up north that asked me when we dealt with all this to contact them again, because they wanted to know how we dealt with it. I said, well, it's still in process.
We're not, yeah. And if I could, 1 second, the thing about that is, I agree with you, a business owner wouldn't want Beelzebub on their corner. But if they wanted to put it on the town green behind the statue of Hyannis, that's not a business owner. And what I'm getting, and maybe if I'm wrong, correct me, is that First Amendment right allows that artist, that sculptor to do that. And that's why I'm trying to say, I don't understand, is there?
There's a conflict.
Yeah, it's a big conflict, and I don't get it. And again, I'm not trying to suppress an artist from doing what they want to do, that's fine. But I'm trying to find the happy medium there on what we can say, yeah, that's great, and gee, that really doesn't fit what we do, but it looks like it doesn't matter if it fits what we do, it's gonna happen.
Let's stick with your example, Kevin. Under what circumstances would someone want to approach the town and say, I wanna put a statue here.
But what I mean is,
Something
these
you're not
rules
gonna
don't,
do.
they don't stop it.
We have-
So, I mean, we have to assume it could happen.
Yeah,
And
that's
it's-
right.
Point of order, you can regulate location if it doesn't, if it goes against the preservation of the historic character of the
That's
district.
exactly what I was trying to say before. It's the character, the location and character sort of do match it. They build that bridge.
Historic character, though, those
Yeah, it doesn't build a bridge because
You
in a
mean-
previous case, or in any case, if it does, if an artist comes and says, I wanna put this up, according to what you're saying, and I agree, that's the law, I mean, I'm not a lawyer, you are, they have First Amendment rights, so we can't tell them, now, that doesn't match the historic character. So now it's a matter of time, place, and manner, because what they wanna put up is gonna happen. Because if we say no, we've just shut down their First Amendment rights.
But I can't walk into Corey's office and say, Corey, I wanna put a statue on the green, and I'm gonna build it next week. And where's this, like, how does that work from the town's perspective? You can't have
But the
people
thing
willy-nilly
is-
coming in.
The thing is that, let's use your example of Beelzebub. The thing is, if they wanted to put Beelzebub behind Ino, I think it would be, because it's in a manner where children and families and that would be going past, then I think it would be, it would be in an inappropriate location.
Okay, if they wanted to put Beelzebub painted on the end of C Street, that building that faces the road,
Yeah.
then,
But
that's what I'm trying to say, I'm
But
trying to
that's a
say
commercial building, so at the end of the day, what business owner is gonna let that happen?
Somebody almost let a.
That's not the
giant
question.
So what's the
building.
difference between a private and a public?
Well, that was what I'd asked before.
Let's go here.
I
Yeah,
was gonna say, so if I can just address what we're sort of talking about, and I guess I should correct myself, so,
And we're not
Going
using a
back-
specific example.
right, so going back to the Porky Pig thing, I think that, again, we wanna stick to content neutral, decisions, or bases for our decisions. However, if the commissioners, you all, don't think Porky Pig is going to serve the historic, character of the neighborhood or whatever, of the district,
Yeah.
then there could be argument if it's in your guidelines written down in a non-arbitrary way. There's an argument that as a historic district preservation committee, and I know I keep giving you different names, so these are
Yeah.
all
But we
so
understand
wide.
what we're following you,
Um,
You're doing great.
that there is that compelling government interest, and there's really no way around. So the difference between the content neutral versus the content based, there's an extra step to the standard of review, and it's that it's in the least restrictive way to doing it, and that's not required. So when you're in court, or if you're trying to say, hey, government, we made this decision, and it's content neutral, so we're telling you that it serves a legitimate government purpose, and is narrowly tailored to do so. But if it's content-based, if you're trying to change the message of somebody's art, or you don't particularly like the messages sending, it has to be the least restrictive means in doing so. And so you can't, it's first of all very difficult to show that it's serving a compelling government interest to not give that message. But on top of that, you have to say, well, this is the least restrictive way of doing it. So I know I'm kind of talking in circles, but to sort of simplify that, as the Historic District Commission, you can say that we are sticking with historical pieces of art. We like that theme, right? And if it's in your guidelines, and if it's written down somewhere, and people have somewhere to go before they're coming to you with these projects and saying it has to be historical in nature, which I know other art projects have been historical in nature.
This is where we got in trouble last time.
yeah.
Well,
Where they
but-
wanted us to take that out. We wanted it in, and
Those
we were told we couldn't put that in.
Well, the thing is,
well,
this is all making sense, actually. Be
To
not,
it's
in an odd sort of
To
way,
me.
in an odd sort of way, it's starting to make, because you can't change the message. But if the message is not protected by the First Amendment, so for instance, pornography, hate speech and that, then it is not protected, and we can say this type of art, no matter what form, painting, statue, fountain, whatever else, plant carving, is, we can't, it's not appropriate for that because it's not protected.
Pornographic words you reference, isn't everything else subjective?
Protected, yeah.
It is.
I mean, like, you could say here, there is no God, and someone would say, well, that's a good conversation piece. You could say that to someone of
Faith.
Muslim faith, and they would try to cut your head off. That's blasphemy. So how do you, what are you telling us right now? It's all subjective?
And it's confusing.
Why is there a memo
If you go
about
into
Well,
the
there
First-
is-
if you go
well,
into
the-
the First Amendment, that gets very slippery slope. It's not just a couple things that they say are not protected. It goes on and on and on for pages and pages and pages, okay? So I understand the First Amendment, but it's not that cut and dry. And,
Parts of it is.
what?
Parts of it is.
It's very context dependent.
Yeah,
Every set of circumstances is unique, and
absolutely.
that's what causes the difficulty. But
And so
again, I'm sorry.
No, I just want to clarify. So I understand, and this is obviously going to be a case-by-case
Yep.
analysis. The important thing here is that you all know what you want to see in the district, and you put it down on paper, as much content-neutral guidelines as possible, or I would say content-neutral. So at the end of the day, you could decide you do not want art in the district. You could say you don't want art every 200 feet. You could say that you don't want art any bigger than 2 feet wide. These are things you can think about. If that is really a concern, that, you know, there's going to be art coming in here that is going to be potentially against the historic character of the district.
Then we're right back to square one. What is that?
I think she just told us.
I think it's up to you. It's not up to
It's
me.
up to me, but that's
Yeah.
what comes to get that.
She just told us that if in our guidelines, and I've been working hard on revamping a particular page in our guidelines, and I wanted to wait till after night, because if it's all right with you, I'm gonna send it to you to see what you think and then bring it before these, because I've taken what you've written and then added on certain things. If we can say there's no art in the district, we can dictate it can be no more than a certain size. But like with things on aluminum and things like that, where it's discouraged or whatever, we have it at our discretion, so we could put in there, but each case to be taken case by case.
Well, you can't.
You can't do
because
that.
It
You
has
can't
to
do
be
case
one
by
set
case.
of rules. So for example, you could say, we're only going to allow these various media to be used to convey your art message, and
Okay.
nothing else. So no videos, no this, as long as you apply it across
Across the board.
the board. We don't want any art on frontage. We don't want any frontage on the street because it gets distracting. You can say that. You can work those regulations to achieve your goals and trust the community.
Mhm.
That, you know, I mean, I know there's always a temptation to go to the worst case scenario, but at the end of the day, I mean, let's trust the community.
And I think that
But I
the
think-
issue the issue came up because those guidelines didn't exist, and so it becomes this arbitrary conversation where you're coming up with these points, but you didn't have those guidelines established as to what you're looking for in art in the district. And so I think that that's a conversation you all have to have in creating those guidelines, so that the next application for an art project comes up, you know what you're looking for, and that applicant knows, okay, they only want me to use purple, blue, and white, and unless the color is very important to their message, they'll have to abide by those. That's part of the manner.
As long as we
I-
apply it across the board.
Correct.
Okay.
I understand that, and I understand what you're saying, and I think you're right, Con, you know, you wanna, I don't want the frontage art, or that's all well and good, and that's great. But again, I'm just making sure I understand the content, that we can't say anything. We can't, the way that I'm reading this is, They can do anything they want, use a color they want because it means something to them, and we really can't stop it. And if that is the answer, okay, at least now I understand where my parameters are, what I can and can't do. I'm confused at why you would create a historic commission and take the teeth out of being able to say, gee, we want this in a certain way. And I'm gonna ask you this, and you can say, go pound sand. But as an attorney, is there a way you can research other towns, cities that have these districts and see if there's a way that they're doing it that maybe we're not aware of that would pass court scrutiny? Because, again, if you're telling me it's gotta be this way, Kevin, then that's what I'll do. But I'm so confused at the two different ways.
Mr. Pacheco?
So I'm working with Sarah Corder from Cape Cod Commission, put together a presentation to the commission to show you case studies of other historic districts and how they regulate art
Awesome.
in
Excellent.
districts. So that will be
When
the
is that
second
going?
meeting in March.
That's great. Okay, good. Yeah, excellent.
And just to your point, Kevin, I mean, I would take the contrary view in that, yes, we are an historic district, but the vast majority of people see this primarily as where they live, where they work, just like anywhere else. So at what point, we don't want to gobble that up and say, well, we're an historic district, you can't think like that.
Right.
So
I
that's
understand.
the danger.
I understand, but again, I'm trying to read what we're tasked to do. And if you want to change that task, then good, then they'll have new rules to follow. But I'm trying to find the middle ground to following this and not screwing up somebody's First Amendment rights. And that's why I have so many questions and I have confusion. That will help though, Corey, if you have a way that you can show us, here's how other places are dealing with this, that would pass court scrutiny. I think that would be fantastic. And I think we should all, like you said, it can't be case by case. It's gotta be, these are the rules.
Yeah.
This is how we handle it.
So, Allison, any chance we can get you to attend that meeting? So we do the merging and the historical and the legal?
Yes, absolutely, and I think Corey was working on, you were working on a kind of a presentation.
Yes.
Oh, okay, so Corey did send me that presentation, so I am gonna help him a little bit on the legal aspect of that, and yeah, I'm happy to attend.
Awesome.
And I think that hopefully that will help you to understand. I think just to kind of wrap up that side of things on my part at least, I think that you have to remember that when businesses are coming to you, such as the presentations we saw today, and they're coming to you with the colors of a sign, or they're coming to you with the siding, those aren't things that artistically they're portraying because they believe that, that's not their art necessarily. And so that's the important difference, is that yes, the historic district, you all have the authority and you're tasked to preserve that historic nature, but there are limitations, and the Constitution is that one of those limitations. And I think that, again, the presentation that Corey is going to have is going to be super helpful for you to understand. And like I said, one of the articles I happened to come across it's old. It's from 2003. It's from DePaul University, but it's about a town, I feel like near Charleston or South Carolina. Yeah. But they're just talking about certain ordinances that they put in place regarding color, and sample ordinances. So they want soft muted shades as opposed to vibrant or hot shades. So those are still allowed. It's just, you need to make sure that, again, on the case by case basis, if they're saying, I want the flag of this country, it's just, whatever.
I want the neon green, the neon pink, the neon blue. No matter what the ordinances say there in that South Carolina town, they're gonna be able to do what they want.
Of course, we have another problem because, it's the old how long's a piece of string. If we, any chance you can send us a copy.
Absolutely.
But and it has come before us before, where they've turned around and said, well, this building is actually an art piece. I think it's before anyone else was here, I was here for it. This is actually, we want to do this for this building because it's artistic, it is the art. And this is an art piece that we're going to apply to it. So now we did manage to handle that very well, and it all worked out. It was not even a complaint. But So we wanna tighten that up, so you can't just turn around if it's something you want to do and it's, really not according to it, just, you don't wanna use excuse that as soon as you put the word art in it, that it puts it into a different category,
Sure.
so.
Yeah, and I mean,
People are clever.
right, hopefully that doesn't occur, but you never know.
Yeah. Commissioner Doherty?
I still don't have clarity on public and private.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, and it's fairly simple. So when we're talking about public property, so going back to putting a statue in the middle of the green, we have a lot more say in what's going on public property because that message becomes government speech.
Exactly.
So the town of Barnstable is now saying whatever you want on your mural on the side of town hall. So that is a different animal.
We're gonna
That
we're gonna need those guidelines.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to
Sure.
do more with that because I definitely focus more on private here. But
Yeah, I know, it was all private, and that was why as soon as you came in, I wanted to say, could we please know that where it differs, because I knew it would have to. So for instance, a hospital, well, actually, it might not be, some of that could be private. Town hall,
Yep.
a town hall is public property, so it belongs to,
Library is public.
I know it is, but we're not talking about,
I'm not
all
talking
sorts,
about-
all
I'm just
sorts
talking
of
about a
public places.
theoretical
library.
So
Theoretical
where
library.
Let's say there's a library.
So what are the guidelines?
Wait a minute, but what is the process by which someone puts art on one of our buildings in the town? How does that happen? I can't just walk in and put something on a green.
They need permission from the owner.
Okay, and the owner's the town, so what is the process by
That
which
only
that
if it's,
happens?
only if it's public, but if it's private, then.
No, I'm only, my scenario is only public. I
Okay,
wanna do
gotcha.
something on the green. How do I go about doing that? Who do I contact in the town to say, I wanna do this?
Well,
Okay.
town manager,
Planning.
town
Town
manager.
plan, so it starts with them, and then it would devolve to us?
if it's within the historic district,
Okay.
obviously, I would
With the
say.
exception of the post office.
But yeah, federal property.
Oh, that's right, absolutely right. So actually, if you could differentiate, there's three, public, private, federal, and if there's any differences in them, because they must apply differently. And they probably, if it's on federal, I'd be
Well,
very interested in knowing that.
We'd like to know.
Yeah,
The federal would be out of our purview anyways,
That's right.
and so
Yeah.
it would, but like again,
public and private.
public
yeah.
versus private. Public, they would need the permission of the town, A, and B, that whatever the message they're trying to portray is going to become our message. So if it's something religious, if it's something political, I mean, we're not going. That's a totally different story. We don't want to.
All right.
We haven't
So
had.
we're not really worried about public art, we're worried about private art. That's or private buildings or
We need
private
to know the
things, because
difference.
public will be taken up by the town council, by
We
the
have
town
a
manager.
problem with public right now.
But that's been approved.
But the thing is, and I agree, we need to know the two difference, not federal, that takes it out of it. But the, I mean, we haven't had too many things on art that have come our way, but obviously we get new things all the time. But we have been, we've put in things like, we didn't say no pornography, but we said no obscenity, which is basically the same thing. And I actually provided the examples for that, and this is, long prior to the elections, but it was like no hate Biden, no hate Clinton, no hate, kill this person, that kind of stuff, because that would be hate speech, I would believe. That's how I put it.
Yeah. So
I-
killing is inciting violence,
And
but
that
I
makes it
hate
hate speech.
Biden, I hate Trump, is.
Well, using the word hate makes it hate speech.
But it's not because they're public figures, so there's that other exemption as well. So public figures are sort of exempted out of that. So when I was talking about the verbal torts, so you can't put a mural about my ex-boyfriend, or I can't intentionally incite, or I can't intentionally inflict emotional distress. So if it was something across the street from a cafe owner that happens to be Italian, I'm Italian, so I'll just say that. And across the street, I put a mural that says, yeah.
But
So
that's
if we
subjective.
have an applicant come up and they say this is made to be just disruptive and make people uncomfortable and face history and things like that, isn't that causing emotional distress?
No,
Objectively?
because it wouldn't,
It distresses me emotionally.
sure, absolutely. I just don't think it would rise to that level, but again, that would be something that you
Then
could
why
still
is your
consider.
boyfriend making fun of you emotionally distressful? but
Because that's
someone
an
saying
individual.
America's terrible, isn't?
Yeah, and it's also, you're talking about an individual, so again, if I'm putting an offensive, I know that this is gonna offend this cafe owner and I hate him, so I'm gonna put something up, and I can't think of an example right
Don't
now.
eat their food because it'll.
I'm
kill you.
specifically targeting that person. I'm
Yeah.
intentionally inflicting emotional distress on that person. That's a tort. He can sue me, and also we probably shouldn't allow them to put the mural up in the first place.
But it's different if someone's emotionally upset on a private wall or somebody goes to a public wall and is emotionally upset. That's when the town would get involved.
Yeah, if someone comes to, say we have a picture hanging on the side of town hall, and again, it's government speech. That becomes our speech. It's a message that we're sending out. So that would make it. We have to definitely remain neutral as just a municipal government.
So just as a really narrow question here, sidewalks. The public are on the sidewalks.
Are you talking about chalk art?
No, I'm not talking about anything except if somebody's on a public sidewalk in downtown Hyannis and they're walking by a private building, where is the guide?
Where's the dividing?
Where's the dividing line?
The
Well,
demarcation
that's
line.
why you're able to. That's why they have to come to you in the first place to get that certificate of appropriateness, because the public can see it. If they're putting that's
Back to
just
my-
general. If they're putting a mural inside their business, that's
That's, I
Yeah,
get
it's
that,
not-
but I didn't
yeah.
say,
So it's just
historical
because it's-
character, we have the words historical character.
mhm. Yeah. And again, that
I
just
need to know.
To
I
be
don't
honest-
think we can say all art has to have
I didn't say
historical
art,
quality.
I'm
So,
just saying.
In general,
the-
right,
how
our
to-
charge.
How to get, all, talking about from your background, talking about from my background, if I needed an answer, I went to the trust document. I didn't read the prototype plan, I went to the trust document, the 75-page document instead of the 2-page document. And that's where I'm looking for, I'm looking for the 75-page document where it doesn't leave any questions about this, this, this. That's what I'm looking for.
And I think it all comes down to the perfect is not the enemy of the good. I really do.
Yeah, but,
Well, right now, I don't think we have any, the perfect or good, to be honest with you,
Right.
in this discussion. So in my opinion, I think we're talking in circles now, and we're saying the same things over and over again.
Yeah.
I think what we do now is wait for the second meeting in March
It's
with
a good
Corey's
meeting.
presentation. And if we have more questions, we go from there, but I mean,
And you're gonna get us public guidelines versus private.
Well, also, before that time, I'm gonna finish, I wanted to wait till after tonight to tweak, and I know a lot of things I have to tweak. And then, thank you, I'm gonna send them to you for, and, if I'm completely off my rocker, let me know, but you wrote part of it. Cause I've taken those examples that you've used. And I'm hoping that will solve, but there's other things that have come up tonight that I need to include in that. But, I agree with Commissioner Matthews, we're kind of,
yeah,
it's late,
We've
we've been
said
here,
it.
we're working around 2 hours,
Yeah.
so, I wanna thank you very much for coming.
yes, thank you, and thank you for the memo and all of that, that's great.
And Corey will liaise with you on the date and what's going on for the Sarah Project, Sarah Project, right?
I do not.
Oh, she's the Cape Cod Commission.
I've heard her name, but I have not met her.
Lovely person,
Allison,
and
I only have 2 words for you, help us.
Yeah.
we will get there.
I think that it's important to review the memo on the details of past review, because I think that at the very least will help you in the right direction. And then the next step again is going through the guidelines and trying to come up with what you're trying to do and making sure that you're doing your absolute best not to impede on the First Amendment rights. And I know it's a complicated thing,
Oh, okay.
but all I can say is if you have questions outside of this,
Do you have an extension that we could,
Actually, before you, I would not give that in open
Yeah, well,
public. Karen will get that for you, because otherwise, remember, we're on the
Yeah.
camera where anybody can get it.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I'll send this DePaul University article to everybody through Karen, and that way, you know,
Got you, okay.
you'll have my email and everything too.
And I apologize for interrupting you, Commissioner Doherty, but I don't want that to go out.
You might be able to write them for yourself.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I think it's important, Allison, what I'm gonna do is just blame everything on you. And that's the
Yeah.
best way to go, and that makes it easy for all of us.
well, that's the thing, is that you can blame the Supreme Court if you want.
Tisk, tisk,
'cause
Commissioner
that's-
Matthews, we want her to come back.
She's done a great job.
She has. And again, we thank you.
Yeah, absolutely, thank you.
Mr. Maroney, did you want to say anything to us? Okay,
Enjoyed the conversation, thank you very much.
okay.
And
The,
unfortunately, I don't think you went out live tonight because you weren't on the live television the school committee is. So they Bigfooted, I guess.
Oh,
So
Unbelievable.
people will be looking for tapes, that's why I came over.
Oh, wow.
okay. So,
Interesting.
the, let's get to where we are.
That 1.3A is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
An interesting
Thanks,
question.
Glad to finally meet you.
Yeah, glad to see you in person.
Yeah.
I can, okay. I wanna look it over a little bit more.
So,
Thank you.
Can we sign off now?
no, we have minutes to approve. Draft minutes for January the 15th,
I read them and I move that we accept them.
Second.
seconded by Commissioner Matthews.
Aye.
Who was not here? Anyone?
Oh, shoot,
Were you here?
I think it was sick.
Commissioner Watson, were you here?
What was it?
January 15th meeting,
No.
Yeah.
no?
But if you weren't here and if you have read them, you can
And you've
vote on
looked
them.
at, and you've looked at the tape?
Yeah,
Have-
or you can abstain, whatever you choose.
Okay,
Upstate.
okay. Commissioner Matthews,
Aye.
Commissioner Clark,
Aye.
Commissioner Doherty,
Aye.
Commissioner Whitworth.
Aye.
We have a quorum anyway, and I say aye, so those are passed. Next meetings are February the 19th and March the 5th. We have continued the first applicant tonight to March the 5th. I would entertain a motion for, by the way, thank you everybody for such hard work tonight. Job well done. I'll entertain a motion for an adjournment.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Commissioner Crowley? Commissioner Watson?
Aye.
Commissioner Matthews?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Doherty? And Commissioner Wentworth?
Aye.
I also say aye. Thank you very much, Corey and Karen, for your help.
Thank you.
Thank you, Corey.
Thanks, Corey.